A balance patch in a fighting game can potentially be the difference between a character being high tier or unusable. And because FGC members are so attuned and used to these patches, they can very quickly notice the changes developers make to characters. The reason I bring this up is because when it comes to the Kingdom Hearts series, when you go from a game with tight and responsive controls to one with incredibly loose controls and slow animations, the majority of the community doesn't seem to really care or notice. In fact, most people who make note of these differences and would suggest them to be changed are considered nitpickers in the community. One comment I found rather interesting was how I should stop making KH out to be like a fighting game, with the implication that fighting games actually care about animation time and frame data, while Kingdom Hearts doesn't, or at the very least shouldn't. While I can definitely say action RPGs and fighting games are very different, there are core similarities I think people should take notice of. Hi, my name is Bloody Biscuits, and today, let's talk a little bit about fighting games. There are lots of loose comparisons that you can make between a fighting game and an action game like Kingdom Hearts 2, but the one aspect I want to focus on is jumping. In a traditional 2D fighter, jumping, or staying in the air too long, is always a risk. This is because on the ground, you have more time to observe your enemies and more ways to stay defensive and avoid damage. In the air, you naturally lose these defensive options, and if you do get hit while in midair, the potential for taking high damage combos is much greater. This is why in Smash, you are taught to short hop and fast fall just about all of your aerials, to get you to the ground faster where you regain your defensive options. Basically, jumping is a risk versus reward situation. You put yourself at higher risk by trading away your defensive options, but the reward is potentially much greater because if it works, you get to deal a much more damaging combo to your opponent. The situation is relatively the same in Kingdom Hearts, but the differences come in when you realize you aren't always fighting 1v1 against a grounded opponent, you won't deal more damage with air combos, and in a single playthrough, we'll probably have to fight against multiple enemies in the air. What this means is you'll have to put yourself at risk on a regular basis just to deal regular damage to aerial opponents. Sounds like a pretty unfair trade-off. So how do we make air combos a fair and fun experience for the player? Kingdom Hearts 2 makes air combos fun by making the individual hits quick and the finisher snappy. The finisher just feels like it packs a punch when you see and hear it, and the natural downward momentum brings you to the ground quickly. One small aspect that I always personally appreciated about Kingdom Hearts 2's combos is the ability to cut the animation short if I wanted to. For example, Aerial Spiral's full animation has 3 hits, but if you keep mashing attack, you can skip the final hit and move on to the next part of the combo if you so desired. And what's great is that there are situations where you'll want to use all 3 hits and situations where you'll want to mash and skip ahead to the next part of the combo. Small little things that cut long animations short don't seem like a big deal to the average player, but they add an extra amount of freedom and decision making for the player to use if they so choose. For the majority of Osaka KH games, however, the air combos feel incredibly slow, are unsatisfying to use, the finishers don't pack a punch, and the physics engine makes it so characters take way too long to touch the ground and make their next move. A simple jump attack is much slower, and the end lag on the move prevents you from being able to do any other action once you touch the ground. In a word, the air combos in Osaka games are floaty. However, that's not to say that everything that is floaty or slow is a bad thing. Believe it or not, most of your combo finishers in Kingdom Hearts 2 are quite slow and laggy, but they're some of the best moves in the game. Aerial Finish and Magnet Burst are additional air finishers in Kingdom Hearts 2, and are both much slower than the standard finisher and don't bring you to the ground quickly. But they make up for this with their own individual benefits. Aerial Finish has a sphere of hitboxes protecting you, and Magnet Burst's inherent magnet effect pushes enemies away, giving you a safe landing. You can even chain either of these finishers into another standard finisher, giving you extra downward momentum. Even Explosion, a ground finisher, is incredibly slow animation-wise and one where you're standing in one place, but it's one of, if not the best finisher in the game. This is because to make up for the slow animation, Sora is surrounded by light orbs that attack him from all sides, dealing damage and keeping Sora safe. Not only that, the finisher grants a small amount of invincibility frames to make the finisher just a tad safer. The combos in general in Kingdom Hearts 2 are designed to remove unnecessary risk while also making the combos satisfying to use. So if there's a slow animation attack in Kingdom Hearts 2, there's probably an added benefit to the move to make it worth using. I hate sounding like a shill for Kingdom Hearts 2, but in terms of player freedom and choice, I can safely say that KH2 is far and away the best in the series. And the main reason that is because the combo game feels so tight and well executed. The combo game in Osaka Teams, however, feels like a tool that's gone defective. There are rarely ever any animation cancels, and the animations don't provide any extra benefits to make up for how slow they are. This leads to combat that never truly feels cohesive and is always restricting itself in unnecessary ways. And because there's always a sense of risk when you're trying to use the most basic tool in the game, the standard Keyblade combo, Osaka Team games never make you feel like you're in control of the situation. The games simply aren't focused on building a good risk versus reward relationship with the player, and instead are designed to make the player just feel flashy. And this is a big deal when you're put into a challenging situation and you'd like to use a combo, but it's far too risky to do so. With a combination of a camera that's zoomed in way too far and enemies that can easily attack you from off-screen, you can easily start up an air combo, only to be attacked from off-screen and you weren't able to fully prepare for it. Now, a counter-argument to this is that in 0.2, you can cancel your combo early and guard, dodge roll, or air slide to protect yourself, removing risk and creating new and interesting combat interactions. You can also use items in midair, an option we didn't have in previous games. The problem, though, is that this solution to the floaty problem is just a stopgate. Giving the player more options in the air doesn't remove floatiness, in fact, it just keeps you in the air even longer than normal. If you air slide out of the combo, then yeah. And using double flight, again, just propels you even higher into the air. None of these options actually get you to the ground faster. In fact, they keep you in the air longer and therefore perpetuate the problem. So, what does the player do when faced with unfair risk versus reward situations? Well, on more challenging difficulties like critical mode, there are legitimate instances where players will opt to stay on the ground and camp out enemies with magic, or play a hit and run game and avoid using any sort of long combos at all. It's not exactly the most fun way to play the game. Players just feel that their options are so limited and that this is the only reliable way to prevent taking damage while slowly but surely dealing damage to their enemies. It's sadly reminiscent of Mysterious Figure in Birth by Sleep, where you're pigeonholed into dodge rolling forever until an opening shows up that you can punish with a Thunder Surge. Because all 190 other commands in the game do not put the player in a favorable position. It's not the player's fault they have to play this way, they're just working with the options that the game has provided, and only one or two ways happen to work. This is where the whole fighting game comparison comes back. A common reason a character would be considered low tier in a fighting game is because they don't have the proper tools to deal with tough situations, and the same applies in an action game. You not only want your character to have good tools to use, but also the feeling that you have multiple options for any given situation. And it's not necessarily that I just want the combos to be faster for my speedruns. No, that's not the point. No, all I really want is to be able to control my character to the best of my abilities. Whenever you hear about a game that has tight and responsive controls, they're talking about this very discussion. They're talking about controls that have very little lag and delay and give you full control over your character's moves without purposely slowing you down. And it just feels like Osaka Team doesn't have a basic understanding of satisfying game feel. Is the air slide a satisfying tool to use? Or are people immediately canceling it with double flight because the end lag is so bad? Is the basic combo something players enjoy using? Or are players canceling out of the combo simply because the animations take way too long to finish and they feel that they're in danger? Whenever I look at a KH game developed by Osaka Team, issues like these seem to go completely unnoticed, which is extremely concerning for how Square is going to address these issues in Kingdom Hearts 3. It's disappointing because action games are the genre where players are encouraged to be creative with their options and fully express themselves through the game itself. Challenging situations like critical mode and post-game boss battles are where the game is pushed to its limits and where you find players expressing themselves through their creative play. So when you see situations like Mysterious Figure and the mirror fights in 0.2, where players are stripped of their freedom and forced to run and camp because that's the only way for players to deal with the situation, it feels like the developers truly failed the player in some way. Now, the most classic counterargument to these issues, and the one still used to this very day, is that 0.2 was a tech demo, and now developers for Kingdom Hearts 3 know and understand these issues and are working to fix them, so there's nothing to worry about. And you know what? I'd be on board for this argument where devs get a chance to test the waters and see what players want out of a next-gen Kingdom Hearts game. They even had the event where players like Soralam1, Biscuit047, and others got to play the game early and voice potential concerns with head developers. So if we look at the new trailers for Kingdom Hearts 3, have these issues been addressed? Have changes been made? Sadly, no. The horrible air slide, Sora's awful looking finisher, the camera zooming in when Sora finishes a limit, it's the exact same design philosophy as 0.2. And in the months following the meetup event, all gameplay from trailers looks the exact same as before. So if there's going to be any change to combos to make them more robust and usable, or options to remove unnecessary cinematic flair, it's very last minute and we're only going to find out when the game comes out late January, or it's going to have to be patched post-launch. But if these issues are so prevalent in Osaka Team games, why isn't anybody noticing them? Well, sadly, Kingdom Hearts games do a terrible job of teaching the player how to use its mechanics outside of giving the player constant rewards for what they should already be doing, and even then, these rewards are just more buttons for the player to mindlessly press to feel like they're doing well. So the only way for the player to be given a challenge is to play at a higher difficulty. And like we already mentioned, most players choose the standard difficulty, so they never have to actually deal with the enemies that are repeatedly hitting them. The absolute most common strategy used by players is to heal yourself at low health and continue attacking. There is no risk to their moves if they can just heal all the damage away, so to them, long drawn-out combos just aren't an issue, or at least not enough of an issue to warrant any attention. So this begs the question, if the average player can't tell the difference between the combos in Kingdom Hearts 2 and the combos in Birth by Sleep, why should we care? Why should Square cater to the small portion of the community that actually notices the difference? Well, the thing Kingdom Hearts 2 was so magically able to do was provide us with a game that catered both to just the average fan as well as the players who cared very deeply about a fluid, fun combat system. The more average player could play on a lower difficulty and still have a good time, while the more hardcore player would be rewarded for playing on the higher difficulties and be given an adequate challenge worth their while. So my question to you all is, if Kingdom Hearts 2 was able to accomplish this feat, why can't Kingdom Hearts 3? At this point late in the game, it's all just a toss-up. Every trailer or video of gameplay footage of Kingdom Hearts 3 shows that the game has some cool ideas and lots of potential, but also lots of problems. It's a mixed bag, and at this point, all we can really do is sit tight and wait for the 29th, hoping for the best. My name is Bloody Biscuits, thanks for watching.